What's up, everybody? It is Izzy back today with another Q&A. I got to make up something to talk about for the first 30 seconds of this set before we get to the first question. So, first thing of the day here is the seated lateral. I start all my push workouts with seated lateral because side delts are, if not the biggest weakness of my physique, one of them. And I just can get a lot better performance when I do them first. And my biggest way that I prioritize muscle groups at this point is to just train them earlier in the workout. It's worked pretty well for me thus far. Hopefully I see some improvement in the side delts this year by putting them first. Anyways, on to the first question. What glute machines would you buy if you were a gym owner? I think the three most important ones are going to be a hip thrust of some kind, a kickback, so like a quadruped extension, something like that, and then the seated abduction machine are going to be the ones that most members expect. Now, if you're talking about like which specific brands and models are the best, I don't know, man, and I still don't care. Like, I haven't tried all of them, so I can't really weigh in on that. And as a gym owner, your main concern really needs to be like the value of the equipment in terms of depreciation, something that will last long and not need a lot of repairs. Why have you been doing less weight on the seated hip abductor than usual? As I've mentioned like many times, I have an injury, so that's why higher rep ranges and lower weights don't hurt it, and that's why I'm doing higher reps on that movement. This right here is a good example of why oftentimes I don't think it's super useful to do more than 2 or 3 sets to failure on the same machine if you're doing failure training. So see, I've at this point taken about 100 pounds off, and I'm just barely matching reps. You start to wonder if that's still quality volume. When doing a Bulgarian split squat, should it be executed differently if you are training for strength versus hypertrophy? So if you're training for hypertrophy, you need to decide whether you want the emphasis to be on the quads or the glutes, and that will have a slightly different setup. For quads, knees are going to be pushed as far forward as possible, and for hips, you're going to have less of that forward knee travel. Now, the second thing is, if you're doing it for strength, I don't really know what that means. Do you mean powerlifting, strongman? Because hypertrophy training is strength training. So I'm going to assume powerlifting. And in that case, you might want an even mix of both, or you might want to target the muscle that's most beneficial and will have the most carryover to your powerlifting style squat, which probably is quads most of the time. I am stuck at less than 10 bodyweight pull-ups. Do you have any suggestions? How should I program this? Increasing your pull-up ability is fundamentally not any different than increasing any other lift. So it's going to be easier in most cases to make micro load additions than it is to add reps. Like if you're at 7 reps on bodyweight pull-ups, right? To go to 8 reps, you need to get something like 2.5% stronger. That's a difficult jump to make in a short time frame. Maybe you can make that jump in 3 or 4 weeks, but you can definitely make the jump from going doing bodyweight for 7 to doing body weight plus 2.5 for 7. You know what I mean? That's a much easier jump to make, and so I would program it that way. How long do diets feel easy for? This literally depends on like a million different factors. It depends on how fast you're dieting. It depends on how lean you are when you start. It depends on your experience with dieting. It depends on the quality of your food choices. Like if you're eating lots of salads and potatoes, or you're eating white breads and candies. It's really impossible to say. If you're doing everything correctly, they can feel easy for a really long time. I've been dieting for like 3 months straight. It still feels easy for me. But again, yeah, this is just one of those answers where it depends is the only real true answer. What is the average amount of time you can keep a movement in before it goes stale? There's just no answer to this question, man. I know people really want to know how much progress should they expect to make. They really want to know how long can they keep movement in, but you just can't. There's no universal answer for these types of things. Like, do you really think it's going to be the same answer for a 240-pound enhanced male in the off season as it is for a 115-pound female getting ready for a figure show while she's on a very restrictive diet? Do you think it's the same thing for a 45-year-old as an 18-year-old? There is just no average for these things. There is no average whatsoever. It can't help you. If you have stalled on a compound movement, and decided that you want to add volume, should you add that volume to the compound movement or perhaps an isolation movement that trains the same muscle? In almost every circumstance, I would be adding that to the compound movement because that's the one that's going to have carryover and get you unstuck. Like, let's say you're doing bench press and you've stalled on bench press, but it's because your shoulders and triceps are the limiting factor, and you add another set of flies. Well, that might not get you unstuck. The only movement that you can be sure addresses your exact stalling cause is the same movement that you've stalled on. So if you're going to add volume because a compound movement is stuck and you think adding volume is a solution, I would be adding that volume to the actual movement that is stuck versus, say, again, if it's bench press, trying to add more tricep push downs or more front raises or more chest flies. Can a 10-day run of Anadrol cause suppression? Yes, it could. It's not in the time range that would be likely to do so, but the response to hormones is very individual. In the literature, it takes an average of 7 cycles before someone needs TRT for life. But there are anecdotal reports of people needing TRT after a single cycle, meaning that their natural testosterone levels never bounce back. You're 19 or 20, and your HPTA axis is not even fully developed yet. Neither is your brain. Why are you making decisions that could potentially impact you for the rest of your life for a contest that probably has no significant monetary ramifications or anything else about something that you don't even know if you're going to care about when you're 30? It's just silly. My triceps have very poor recovery. I only am able to do 2 sets every 8 days, and I mostly feel that in my elbows. What should I do? So I've seen a little bit of your training, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, because I had to learn the same thing for myself. But while it's really cool to be lifting like the same weights as people who are twice your size, oftentimes it's indicative of the fact that your technique is off. Lower the loads, slow the eccentrics, add some pauses, increase the rep range, and see if your elbows don't feel 100% better. Glute pins always go wrong, whereas no issues pinning lats, delts, quads. Ideas? Yeah, dude, here's an idea. Just quit pinning your glutes. How tucked should your arms be on an incline chest press to target the chest? It really doesn't matter. You're going to target the chest no matter what on an incline chest press. However, the wider you flare your elbows, it tends to be the easier it's going to be to get a big stretch on the pecs. However, it also puts your shoulders in a bit of a precarious position, and they're more likely to run out of room for range of motion sooner than if you have a more tucked position. So find a balance between the two. Use enough flare to get a good stretch, but not so much that you have a partial range of motion or that your shoulders hurt. Is doing max out singles randomly just bad in terms of hypertrophy and strength? Dude, what do you think? Are you serious? Do you have no common sense? Yes, that's like one of the dumbest things you can do, to go off plan and randomly max out. At least once every 3 or 4 days, I will get asked by somebody, what about when I'm dieting? Is it okay to lose strength when I'm dieting? No, it's not. You should not be losing strength when you're dieting. The exceptions to this are obviously going to be if you're dieting really fast for some reason. That pretty much makes it impossible to stop strength loss. If you're getting super, super lean, like I'm talking about the last 4 to 6 weeks before a physique contest or a photo shoot, something like that. But otherwise, if week over week you are losing performance, that is because fatigue has accumulated too fast for your fitness level to keep up with, and you need to deload and reduce the amount of work that you're doing. The number one reason that people lose strength in a deficit is because they keep trying to do the exact same amount of work that they were doing at the peak of their surplus, and they can't recover from it anymore, and they start losing strength, and instead of making a change, they just keep beating their head against the wall and losing more and more strength every week. Any tips on bailing a failed hack squat with no spotter? Well, why even do that in the first place, man? How much social anxiety do you have? Just ask someone for a spot. Because the only thing that you can do otherwise is if you have newer equipment, like a newer hack squat, that will usually have adjustable safeties. So you can put the safeties in a spot where when you round and hunch over and get as low as you can set it on the safeties and then get out. But if you don't have a hack squat with adjustable safeties, you're going to have to stress test and go see if you can get it to touch the bottom by rounding and hunching and sinking as low as you can. Because if you can't do that, then there's absolutely no way to safely fail a hack squat without a spotter. That's exactly what I was trying to do by myself. And then I hurt my knee trying to bail out of it because there is no way to bail out. So just go ask for the spotter. Don't have weird social anxiety issues. Why do we need a weight cap in classic to keep the bodybuilders from getting too big, but we don't need one in men's physique? So I'll just be honest, I don't know what the point of men's physique is as a class. I'm not even going to touch on the women's divisions because some of those are exactly the same in my opinion also, but let's focus on men's physique. Men's physique, when it came out, was supposed to be the fitness model class. You were supposed to be like a guy that could be on the cover of a normie magazine. Like you could be on the cover of Maxim when they're doing a workout feature or something. It was supposed to be a swimsuit model. Like literally, that's what the swim trunks are there for. And over time, they just kept letting bodybuilders be bodybuilders, and bodybuilders always push the envelope. They always push the envelope. So if you don't have weight limit rules, or you don't have responsible judges that keep it from getting freakier and freakier, then what you get is what men's physique is now, which is just men's opens with board shorts. There's no difference. You're just an open bodybuilder who's wearing swim trunks. Well, friend, it is my professional opinion as a fake social media doctor that you should just talk to your physio. Just say like, hey, it doesn't seem like this is getting better. What do you think? What's your take on my progress? And see what they have to say. I mean, I don't know what your injury is. I'm not going to have any better advice than the person who's actually helping you treat it. All right, everybody, that is it for today's Q&A. As always, if you liked the video, let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And have a wonderful day, my friends. BB. Bye. Bye-bye. BB.